Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of convos.dev. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with Jess, and we're just two dev friends who like to chat about life and tech and everything else. And today we're talking about OpenClaw. And Jess, as the resident AI expert, is going to start because she made me start last time. But then I also have a lot of cool stuff I've been doing. So Jess, how are you using OpenClaw?
So it's really funny because I might be the AI expert here, but I'm gonna assume that you might know more about OpenClaw than I do. But maybe like OpenClaw, what are my thoughts on OpenClaw? OpenClaw I've used a little bit, and mostly I do it for work stuff, so I use it to run essentially automated evals on a daily basis. So for context, essentially what I'll do is I'll have OpenClaw scrape Twitter every morning and find interesting AI research papers that are being published or being talked about, and then basically discern whether they can be evaled or not. Essentially, like if they're making a claim, like for example, there's a paper that made a claim that if you repeat your prompt 2 times, you actually get better results because LLMs read left to right. So if there's context that's given earlier, it might forget it, or like the order of the words matter. So if you repeat it 2 times, it will get better context, essentially. And those things can be evaled, essentially. So I just have it do that and essentially run automated evals. And I've just been having it do that for me for the past month. I have been hesitant to give it any sort of actual permissions to my email and my calendar, things like that. I know other people that have created secondary email accounts or things like that so that OpenClaw can interact with it, but it does limit what it can do, obviously, from your own personal accounts. So for example, if you need it to book a flight for you, how are you going to have it enter your credit card information? So there are things like that. However, I have a lot of people in my circle that have done things like replaced their personal assistant using OpenClaw. So they've shared their GitHub repos with me. So I need to go through it because they use a lot of LastPass and things like that. So I'm actually curious to see how they do it and if they are really, essentially giving OpenClaw their payment information and things like that. But yeah, me personally, I really haven't done too much with it. I'm very hesitant permission-wise, and that kind of limits what I'm willing to use OpenClaw for. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of have a professional side and then a personal side with OpenClaw. I guess I technically started in the personal, but I didn't do a ton until after I kind of played around with it more on the professional side. So I'm also, like you, hesitant to give it a lot of access to things. I certainly don't let it have access to my email or things like that. So it has all its own stuff. It has its own GitHub account. It has its own Cloudflare account, Vercel account, a couple other things like that. And so that limits it. Like you said, I think professionally we have at least 3, I think maybe it's 4 now, OpenClaws that live inside of Resend that have their own credentials for things, that run certain tasks on repeat, that can interact with us, that can approve PRs, look through stuff, do research. So for instance, one of ours, I have it scan all of our Ahrefs account, our analytics, Google Search Console, all this stuff, along with competitor research analysis, and then basically put together weekly, here's where how you're doing, here's your, whatever. So you can of course use tools that do a lot of that, but to pull in 5 or 6 things, and then I can add stuff to that. And it actually built a custom website with custom auth and all this kind of stuff just for me. So I can log in anytime and see all the runs we've done recently. That doesn't have to be OpenClaw. I could just code that myself. But the nice thing is, since it has access to that data, which I just store in Convex, I can actually query about that data or query it about certain API things and ask questions and ask it to evaluate and things like that. So that's where I started really using it and saying okay, this could actually be fairly useful. So I'll say hey, go look at the last 20 blog posts. Can you put together a basic style guide of how we like to write? Are there patterns we try to avoid? That kind of stuff. And again, I could have just Claude do it, but to have this OpenClaw instance that basically everyone can interact with on our team, we'll have it write skills pretty regularly. And then Christina's, who we've mentioned before in the podcast, I feel like she should just come on the podcast at this point, but she recently hooked it up to some new thing. I don't even know what it is. I saw it last night for the first time, where you can have your OpenClaw bot join like a Google Meet call. And so she hooked it up to where it's actually like talking with a voice and like its avatars, like moving its mouth. It was kind of crazy. It's like 50 cents a minute or something. Like it's pretty expensive, but she just hooked it up. Yeah. So I was like, that's kind of fun. So she's the one who's like pushing the boundaries of like, oh, we could do this and this. But then we've given one to our Emperor team. We've given one to our engineering team. And like they all have different skill sets, different permissions, what they can do. They're fairly limited. And our full interaction with them is through Slack. So that's kind of how we've been using them at work. But the shared context that we can all write skills to it, that I can say, hey, can you do this thing? Or hey, can you teach this other agent how to do the thing we're doing here? Can you give it that skill? That's been super useful. Whereas like for Claude, I can do that personally, but then it's just tied to my account and I have to find a way to share that. So OpenClaw has kind of decentralized a lot of our team information. And again, we try to keep it very scoped and like careful permissions and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of what started me down the path of my personal side stuff with OpenClaw, which I'm much more excited about. But I'll at least stop there for now.
That's actually very, very cool that that Resend seems to be using like different OpenClaw, I guess, agents or instances for whatever function. That's a really mature, I guess, status for using AI for a company, if that makes sense. Like I think there's a lot of companies that want to do that but haven't set it up yet. That's really cool.
We have like a marketing one, an infra one, engineering, and then ops, I think. So we have 4, and they're all named after ancient Greek gods, or like Hermes is the marketing one, because letters and running and things like that.
With that?
No, that's a Zeno brainchild right there.
So who set this all up? I guess that's actually a really interesting question, right? Because I think there's a lot of people who might be watching, or I hope would watch, that would want to do this for their own company. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that, even from who is pushing forward this, like who convinced the entire company to adopt this? Because I think that's also really difficult,
Well, it does help that we have Zeno who pushes from the top, and I don't know how he does like 12 people's job every day and somehow still has time to breathe and have a family that he's super invested in. But it was actually his idea. He's like, I think we should do OpenClaw just for marketing, and basically showed off in our demo day. And so we had, together, the 3 of us, we opened EC2 instance, dropped it on there, gave it a 1Password vault. So it has scoped auth to everything it needs. Sent it. We probably had 15 or 20 skills that we gave it to start with, and we've iterated on that. Like, here's the skills we want you to start with. Everything from like, there was like a human communication skill that like talk more like a human. There was stuff about Resend or React email. We fed it all of our docs. We fed it all of our blog posts. We fed it a bunch of information ahead of time and had it start working. So we did that for probably a week internally, never told anyone. We have a channel for Slack where we hooked it up to that. And then we did a presentation where Christina presented it, walked through the whole presentation. And then the last slide was like, by the way, Hermes created this entire slide deck and all the talking presentation points I've done to start with. So like, and that was a really cool way to reveal it. And then everyone was like, okay, this is kind of cool. So then people were interacting with it. And then Infra was like, hey, we want one that could like jump in an incident. And by the time a human gets there, already has given all the information that we need immediately, that kind of thing. And so we started, I think each team started kind of jumping into it as they felt like it was useful. And how they use it, I think, differs per team. I just saw one of the teams was like, this one's not super helpful. We should just kill it. And then somebody else on the team was like, we just haven't helped it. We need to give it more context.
Like one Slack channel per OpenClaw instance that just the whole team will interact in that Slack channel and just ask it things, or?
Yeah, so it started that way. Then people started inviting it to other channels. I have a Chris Hermes channel that's private just to me because I don't want everyone to see my interactions with it, just because it's like annoying to see a bunch of interaction. Then some people gave like our bots too much access. And so like, they're like doing chef emojis on everything. And we're like, dude, stay out of this conversation. This is not about you, or whatever.
So funny.
So I think we're trying to figure out where it should live. So it started with one, then it's moved to way too many. And now I think we're trying to figure out how to limit it.
Okay, I don't want to hijack the personal stuff, but I
Yeah.
really do think the team stuff is interesting because I do think people like the best practices that you're even talking about here of like where should it live, I'm actually really curious about. Because ideally, actually, so at Brain Trust, we have a bunch of agents to do things. We have, like, similar to what you said, to pull a bunch of social media posts or to help write copy for things, help write slides and things like that. We have essentially skills and agents for everything, but we don't use OpenClaw, at least as a decentralized kind of hub for the
Yeah.
entire company or team. And so I'm really curious about some of the best practices. Uh, Even said like, oh, they gave it too many permissions. Like, I mean, the chef's emoji is kind of funny, or like it actually would be funny to have like OpenClaw like react to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, was there anything worse in terms of permissions that happened, things like that?
Like anything where we felt like we had to roll back because we gave it too much permission?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, we've been pretty careful with it. I think probably the bigger thing is just making sure that like it stays in the conversations we need it to be in. So in some instances, like it used to be you had to mention it every time you wanted it to say anything, including
Mm-hmm,
follow-ups to that thread. And that was really
mm-hmm.
annoying because I was like, hey, at Hermes, can you review this PR? And then it reviewed it and I was like, cool, can you do this? And I forgot to at Hermes again in the follow-up. So like giving
Yeah,
it that permission to like read a chat history was helpful. A lot of this just down to how you set up the app in Slack. So I think it's been mostly like making sure it has enough context, also like training it. So there's this idea of a sleep cycle that you can give OpenClaw agents where they'll actually like kind of, I don't know, like clean their memory and like kind of rehearse what they
mm-hmm.
know each night. And that's
Yeah,
been super useful as well. And I think made it a lot more predictable to interact with. Giving it a vault like 1Password or LastPass has been really nice because you
yeah.
can centralize the the tokens it needs to have access to. I know that there's other companies who've been a little bit more concerned about giving it access to a ton of stuff. We never give it access to like prod data or anything like that. So it's very limited in what it can actually perform. It really has to wait on us. It has to interact with us in that kind of way. And then we have like logging for what it does as well. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think it's been mostly just trying to give it enough context, not that we've given it too much, autonomy or anything like that.
Mm. And is there any sort of like scheduled cron job or thing that it does, like you said you fed it all your blog posts, all your documentation. Does it pull in the most recent stuff when it does come in, or is that something you have to manually kick off?
We probably have to manually kick it off, I think. I don't think we've set it up to grab that through a cron job. Although I think for me, I've moved to most like actual code writing or content writing. I feel like Cursor or Claude do a better job than OpenClaw itself, even though it's using Claude for us behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I don't know if OpenClaw somehow gets in the way, but I found that it just does a better job overall. So I've moved most of my content creation with AI to that instead. But I
Hmm.
think that probably differs on the person on the team, what they find useful. And to be fair, I don't really have it do a lot of written content unless it's more like, give me 20 ideas. I just would much rather craft the sentences because I think that's really important to stay as human as we can. But it's certainly helpful for doing research.
Yeah. It's really cool what you've done. I almost wish there was like a blog post on it, because it is legitimately something I would want to implement for my team. Do you guys just have like a Mac Mini or like a bunch of Mac Minis running somewhere in someone's house or something?
No, it's just EC2, like a cloud instance. I think mine,
Okay, gotcha,
yeah, mine is that way too. My personal one as well.
gotcha. And then do you know approximately how much everything is costing?
I do
Like, I
not.
don't know if that's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't.
but do you like even internally, are you guys tracking that or
Yeah, I'm sure we are.
okay.
Well, I know we are, but I don't think it's a concern right now. I think we're definitely in the stage of AI stuff where, like, if you're putting hard caps on a lot of AI stuff and you can't afford to spend what you need to, then it's probably
Yeah,
not the right move right now because I think so much is changing. It's really helpful to be able to actively play and see what you can get out of a lot of AI.
that's really cool. Um, okay, now I'm curious to see what you've done personally. I'm gonna give
This was
yeah.
supposed to be Jess's episode, not mine, but
No, I don't think I've actually done that much with OpenClaw, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I will give you the brief overview, and that is my bot, whose name is Jack. This is a long story. I won't get into that, but I have basically given it access to an Obsidian-vault. In fact, it owns the Obsidian-vault, which is also a GitHub repo. Now, I've hooked up a bunch of different tools to basically build like my own custom task manager that's much more freeform and loose. So, for instance, we're using what's called the para method: projects, areas, resources, and archives. And I also have added tasks in there as well. And so there's a fairly well-defined structure with Obsidian to use it in this way. And every time it does anything, it commits and pushes. And I have a local Obsidian plugin for GitHub that pulls like every 30 seconds. So it's always up to date with whatever OpenClaw has. So everything basically gets generated across these things. We have projects, which are short-term work with deadlines, areas, which are ongoing life domains. I have called my areas gardens. So those are my gardens.
Yeah.
We're starting to retrend things we've talked about already. Resources, which is just reference materials. Archives, which is stuff we can send away. There's also an inbox, which is like a capture zone for daily stuff, daily notes and journaling. And then I have some templates as well. Where the whole thing really helps is every single thing I do gets connected to a garden. So it can be a talk, it can be whatever. So like my church is a garden, my work is a garden, my home is a garden, my personal life is a garden. Convos.dev is a garden. And the whole idea is we want to invest in these gardens. We want to tend the gardens, make sure that we're not we can weed them, pull stuff out. So every Sunday afternoon, I sit down with Jack and we tend all the gardens. So we go through each of them. We ask, is there a way I can invest more? I have philosophy points around each garden. What are the things I want to get out of this? So I've basically taken a lot of what I've done manually. But the hard thing, but the good thing I did was I gave all the reins to Jack. And I just said, Jack, here's all my philosophy around this area. Here's all my philosophy around this area. I don't care what you do with the vault. I'll never look at it. Just put stuff in an orderly fashion, however you think. So that's been the hard thing because I've always been like a tinkerer with actual task managers. Now there's a tool
So just to pause so I understand.
Yeah.
When Jack, the thing that Jack is doing is it's prioritizing the tasks for you based on what you give it in terms of the philosophy of how you want to treat that garden. Is that
yes and no? I can give it due dates, and so then it knows what's due. The other thing I can do, if I don't give it due dates, it's always connected to a garden, and I can view the tasks with a different tool, but I don't really know how they're organized. So it's over the organization, but I have full visibility into anything, so I can just click into a garden and see every task. If it has a due date, it's actually scheduled as well in this other tool I'm using that schedules all this. But I don't organize where things go in the vault. It does all that.
So it organizes the tasks into the gardens and then also helps maybe print. Okay.
Yeah, well, and I can tell it to put it in a garden, which I usually do when I give it a task. Like this goes in this garden. Here's 5 tasks for this garden. So I usually try to make sure I explicitly tell it what garden things go in. But if I don't, it has enough context that it should be able to figure that out. And the times that I haven't, it does a pretty good job.
How many gardens total do you have?
8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Okay. So my basic interaction revolves around a couple of tools. One is obviously the Obsidian-vault and the whole Git sync. Secondly is something called QMD, which was created by the owner of Shopify. It's basically like a way of searching Markdown and it vectorizes semantic search and does a bunch of ranking with the LLMs. I don't totally understand how it works. I just know that it's a lot quicker and a lot more memory efficient and context efficient to use. So it can very quickly basically query the entire vault for anything connected to a garden and then pull it in. So it's not scanning it all with its tokens. Otherwise I'd just be burning a ton of stuff. So that kind of is what opened a lot of this for me, is that it can very quickly just do a QMD. This is a CLI query, and then whatever the prompt is, and pull in every single thing connected to that in a really useful, compact way. So that's one of the really helpful tools. The other one has been this kind of private / custom thing this guy built that I just tapped into. So a while ago, I mentioned this thing called Astro Editor. The guy who created Astro Editor, I messaged him, was like, hey, I love your thing. I'd love to add a couple things to it. And he said, I'm sorry, I've been really bogged down with this custom to-do app I've been building that basically uses Markdown files, Obsidian, as a base. So then I got really obsessed with that. That's called Task DN or something like that. And it's open source, and it's like, so what I have is OpenClaw does its thing all in this GitHub repo with Obsidian. I have Obsidian open that automatically syncs. And then I have Task DN. It has a CLI as well. So it uses that CLI to add tasks. OpenClaw does, and it has skills to do all this that I've taught it over time, and to query tasks or mark them off. And again, it's super context efficient. So the task DN view is the same vault, but it only shows me the tasks. So every task lives as a separate markdown file. Every task is connected to a garden. It can optionally be connected to a project. And task DN basically organizes that like Obsidian, or not Obsidian, OmniFocus, or any task manager you want. So it organizes it in that kind of a view. And so if I open that, I only see my tasks. If I open Obsidian, I see the entire vault, including long form stuff I'm writing or everything else I want to. I can search it like a normal Obsidian vault, but it's really disorganized because Jack did it and he's a loser. But my main interaction is through Signal. So to tie it all together, I mostly text Jack and just tell him, hey, do this stuff. I need to do this tomorrow. But it's not doing anything. It's just organizing what I do. And so I will ask, like, hey, what are some things I need to do? Are there things we've forgotten to attend in a while? Like, is there anything I'm forgetting about work today? And it's like, well, you said to remind you of these things, but it's not like grabbing its own memory. It's using this whole structure to like context efficiently pull up all the things I need to do and give it to me. So that's been my toy recently. And one of these days I'll have it write a blog post for me so that I can I don't know, teach other bots to do the same thing. But that tool, all those tools combined have meant that I can do this in like a really context efficient way where I still have full visibility if I want it. And I can run with it as if it's a traditional to-do app using Task DN, but I don't have to. I can just text it in Signal and say like, oh, mark that one off. I already did that. And remind me to do this later today at 3. And it won't like notify me. So I guess that's maybe something that could be added to Task DN. But I'm chatting pretty regularly anyhow. And so it's not hard to say like, here's the stuff I have to do. And every day I have my full list of to-dos up always in Task DN for that day. So that's how I'm using OpenClaw. It's not to really do anything. It's to manage what I do.
That's great. There was a moment there where you were like rapping. Like you were like going.
First time for everything.
First of all, it's so cool to see how excited you are. Like I think that's like the most animated.
This is how my whole life is. It's like every 5 minutes I come up with something else I like and I get obsessed about it. So I'm sorry.
No, so you know what's really interesting is like, remember in a previous podcast episode where we were talking about like using AI for writing and stuff like that, and I got the sense that like you view writing as like docs writing and just like thinking about good writing as like an art form, and I'm usually more okay with like, I mean, I don't do AI writing slop for sure, but I definitely use AI as more for crunch for writing and things like that. And for me, it's like, this is such a cool flow, but honestly, like, I'm like, oh, this works for Chris. I don't think this would work for me in the sense that like, I love doing the synthesis part, like the brain synthesis part of like task management and all this stuff. And it's also something that I kind of on a low buzz think about at every single part of my day as I'm like showering, walking, driving. And so I'm always self-organizing. And I don't know if maybe I'm like outdated. Like maybe if I were to transition to your workflow, I'd be like, oh, this is amazing. Like my life is transformed. But in a way, it's like super convoluted. I think it's not convoluted for you because it's like it's a simplified, streamlined task that you've kind of done. And of course, it sounds convoluted when you name all the things that you're doing. But overall, I'm sure it's like works for you.
My actual interaction is like texting it.
The overhead, texting it, right? But it's like I wonder. It's just it's so interesting because it's like for me, the overhead of setting this up is not worth. Because I do love task management. I love sitting down at the end of the day, putting on a TV show, and then going on my laptop and like taking off things on my task and like creating new tasks and just organizing them. And it brings me a lot of pleasure, which is not, it's not like you're not doing it when you're talking to Jack, but it's just really interesting. It's a really cool setup though, by the way. It's like,
it took a long time to get there.
It's kind of crazy, like how much. Yeah. And I think it works for you because you already had a foundation because you already have your Obsidian vault and things like that, and you journal a lot, and you had your gardens, and you had this kind of foundation. So it makes sense that you're kind of setting up this system around it. Whereas my way of task management is very different, and I technically have gardens, but it's not kind of structured as like the way that you do it. And so it's so interesting to hear you talk about this. And maybe it's just because you're a much busier person and you also have a family and things like that. So I think you have to be maybe more structured with how you're doing things. But it's just like, that's insane.
Yeah, it is kind of insane. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point. I will say, like, that's the explanation of what's going on under the hood. Literally, all I do is text it like, hey, what do we have to do today? And then on Sundays, we just text back and forth through the gardens. Like, here's all your stuff in your garden. Do you want to talk about any of this? No. Okay, let's go to the next garden. Like, so normally I would just be opening up my task manager and looking through all that. But it like does all my review for me. It's like, hey, I think this is pretty important. You mentioned a while ago you want to do this. Should I add it to do? So it's mostly just texting. But all that under the hood means I can keep it simple in the actual interaction. And I will give one thing, which is I had a friend who was like, that sounds cool. I want to try it. So I had Jack package up an entire skill for how to set up this whole thing and send this person's agent an email. And that agent downloaded the repo.
Too. I want to try it.
Okay, I will. I sent, so I'll send you, I'll have him send you the repo and invite you to the repo. And so the agent just downloaded the repo, set up the entire thing, and that was it. All they do is text it. So it's like they didn't have to do any of the work. So that's the nice thing about these kinds of things. And so it is complex to set up, but you don't necessarily have to do it all yourself. And like the cool thing is you can customize it. Like my brain is psycho. And so this might work for me, but that doesn't mean it should or would work for others. And that's the nice thing about using an OpenClaw agent is you can make it very personal.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Okay, you said you had a really good tool. So I'm curious.
It's kind of a show and tell and tool, and I don't know what to call it, because it's something I made.
That's
another
fine.
thing I got obsessed with. Let's call this one my show and tell then. If you can go to Claudagotchi.com, CLAWAGOTCHI.
CLAW, wait, CLAW what?
DAGOTCI.com. Claudagotchi.com. This is...
Claudagotchi. Wait, CLAWDA.
No, I'm just gonna text you this here in the chat.
Okay.
That should be right. I think I spelled that correctly. Yeah, that's right. This is a
CHI or CI? Hold on, let me see.
Sorry, let me text it to you here. Sorry for this riveting podcasting. Okay, this is an app, a macOS native app built in Swift that I built this last weekend that I've been using alongside Claude Code. So it's a full Tamagotchi that lives in Mac. You can feed it. It poops because it's Tamagotchi. It takes naps. You can poke it. And then it asks you every time Claude needs your attention, it will pop up and say approve or deny. But on top of that, we have themes, including seasonal themes. We also have leveling up, so you can earn points for interacting with Claude Code, and you get extra, like you get like a bow tie and a hat and like headphones. You can change the background. There's custom sounds. So right now, every time my Claude Code needs my attention, it says like, "Hey, get over here," or something like that, and then I can approve or deny it. And I have all these custom sounds for it. So I don't know what happened to me, but in 48 hours this last weekend, I built this app. Then I created the website. Then I somehow signed up for a Apple developer account. You can install it through Brew. You can just download it as a DMG directly from the site as well. I've been having way too much fun building out this app. So anyhow, this is my show and tell app. I haven't announced it yet to the world. I was going to today, but I know a lot of people are off. So I'm like, I'll just wait till next week. But I've been using it for the last week, and it's like so much fun. It makes, working with Claude Code a lot more enjoyable because you get to like have this little pet you like nurture along the way and interact with and play fun games with. It plays games occasionally where you like do memory games of pushing its buttons in certain orders. So Claudagotchi.com.
I love the little dressing up you have levels? Do you have to like unlock levels or something?
You get by getting points, and you earn points for things that you do.
Oh,
Finally you get
Okay.
to Aura Star. That's the real one. So
I know Star Aura. That's so
Star Aura,
cool.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, Chris, this is amazing.
So that was
Oh
my obsession this last weekend.
my gosh. This is super, super cool. Um, yeah, I I love this. Yeah, everyone should go try this out.
I'm
Everyone
sure
should go.
if it gets too big, I'm sure Anthropic will sue me, or tell me to take it down or change the name. But whatever. It's just my thing. I'm gonna do what I want.
Lob Lobster-gotchi, something. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's so
I'm
cool.
not gonna change the name. I'll just
Dude,
take it down and
I
use it
don't even
personally.
have. I don't know why I bother with show and tells. I think we should just have you do your show. I'm too ashamed to do mine. Mine's not even
No,
developer
do yours.
related.
That's fine. I'll take
No,
it down a notch.
this is too good. No,
Well,
you should ramp it up actually. Um, damn, dude. So stupid.
show me. You
Okay,
gotta
fine. I'll be
commit
fine.
now.
Everyone's gonna judge. I don't think I'm just gonna text you a picture. So you play
Okay.
Balatro, so you know this.
Oh yeah.
So stupid. Just got a high score in Balatro. That's my only show and tell. I don't feel like I do very like I think the problem with this podcast is it's like geared too much towards like Chris's skill set. Because for me, I spend more of my time like playing pickleball and stuff, and so I don't have anything to show for these
That's an amazing
developers.
hand, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's an
Um,
incredible hand.
that's an amazing hand, right?
That's an incredible
Um,
hand. That
anyways, I
deserves
got
high
really
praise.
excited about.
24
Anyways,
billion?
I'll put the screenshot in the recording. But yes, I played Balatro. If you don't play Balatro, it's a really fun like
You should.
card building poker related game, and this was like the highest score I've ever gotten in my life, and I was just really
That's
excited about it. So,
insane. Yeah, I
thanks.
don't even
Thanks
know what my highest
for
score
tending
is,
to be
but it's not
excited.
even close. No, that's really impressive. I don't want to show you my highest score.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else to show? I don't actually have anything to show for anything else. So,
For your
you got
tool,
anything else?
we can just call it good. I
Yeah.
know we've gone long today, so we'll call it good.
All right. You want to do an outro?
Let's do it. Well, thanks for joining us today as we chatted through OpenClaw. I didn't mean to quite dominate that conversation so much, but hopefully it was interesting. We'd love to know how you're using it because it is such a personal tool. So I know there's people who are doing crazy stuff like hooking it up to like their entire family schedule and like all this. Yeah. So I'd love to hear more. So please hit us up on socials or at convos.dev. You can leave us a note there and we will make sure to get back to you on a podcast episode. But until next time, thanks, Jess.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.